All right. What did we just watch?
Well, I don't even know the name of it. Mother Joan of Angels.
Yep. Yeah. It's a Polish film. This was 1961, I think, is what we saw.
Yeah,
We had a heck of a time trying to watch this.
I don't know how to tackle this. I mean, we can kind of do what we always do, is talk about the plot.
Well, before we do, let's talk about this is kind of a. I've never even heard of this movie. I mean, this was hard to find. I saw that it was like on Letterboxd. It looked like it was on Amazon, and then we looked it up on Just Watch, which is where they get their data from, and it said it was just on Blu-ray. You'd have to buy it. Mm-hmm. And so, we did a bunch of searching. You found this on archive.org, which is a great site. It's like, if you're a data hoarder, if you believe that like data should be preserved and, films like this that are hard to find should be available, then that's exactly what we did. We found this on archive.org, opened it up on VLC on your Apple TV, and it
plays
worked great.
I'm surprised that it plays it as well as it does. Like, I mean, of course, it just takes the file and puts it through video format, but like we're watching it on a big screen TV, and it's very impressive. I was very impressed with that.
I mean, no lag, no latency, no hiccups. I mean, so like, I guess just wanted to mention that if you do want to watch this film, it will be tough to find, and you can find it on archive.org if you'd like to watch it. But it's a Polish film. Mm-hmm. It was made in 1960, I think 1961, but it takes place in what era would you say? I don't even know.
I really don't know what the date or the location of this is.
I would presume it to be like, I'm assuming like maybe late 1800s.
I don't know. I can't even say that for sure.
I mean, like, the gist of this film is that it takes place in, I presume somewhere in Poland, and it takes place primarily in this town that has a convent, and this town is effectively comprised of the convent, a little inn that's also a bar, and that's really about it. Like, there's a little farm that's attached to this inn that has like horses. It has it has a stable, has pigs, has livestock. But the movie starts, and it's about this priest who has traveled to assist seemingly at this monastery or at this convent full of nuns, because one of the nuns is possessed by 8 demons. And so he's there to, it sounds like, offer support to the other the other individuals that are in this leadership role in the church to help expel the demons in this convent. And he's stepping in after another priest had been burnt at the stake because, what'd they say? They said he was a sorcerer?
That's true. Yeah, I forgot they did say he was a sorcerer, because I was kind of thinking, like, why did he get burnt? It doesn't really go into depth. It just, or like the actions necessarily about like what he did to deserve it. But yeah, he was a sorcerer. And then it's kind of like, it almost feels like, I can't even try to think of another movie that does that kind of thing. It's like you see one part of the timeline, and then it seems like that timeline may repeat itself.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah. So this movie kicks off. He's in this inn. He's making acquaintances with everybody who's there, which is he's being sort of the audience proxy. Like, who are these people? Who is this woman that runs the inn? Who are these people that work there? Who are the people that stay there? And they remark pretty early on about his discipline, his priestly discipline, because he's got this loaf of bread that he eats at the table, and he cuts the absolute thinnest slice of bread ever. It's like razor thin.
It's funny because like we commented on it, but one of the characters in the show did the same thing.
Yeah,
like, dude, like, what do you that's like for a little maiden, and then he says that he doesn't want to be a glutton. So, as Aaron was saying, like, he's very much convicted by his belief of like the Bible and of God's word. And
actually what's really interesting, like, I didn't really even think about it until you just said that, is they don't talk much about the Bible in this, for as religious as this organization. And I think that there's like an intentional decision why that is.
Sure.
Because throughout this movie, we'll get into more.
I think I have my theories.
Yeah, like, this is I don't know exactly what religious what specific religious group within Christianity this is. I mean, I'm assuming it's like Orthodox Catholicism, but it seems like it's even more strict and more rule oriented than that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I guess it would have to be Catholicism.
Yeah.
But anyway, he leaves this inn to go to the convent, and he's introduced to Mother Joan, right? Mother Joan, who's possessed by these demons. He meets with her, has a brief discussion. She seems perfectly normal. Affable, like kind. She seems like, she seems to be generous as like he's a guest. She's talking about how it's her fault that this priest had died, that he was burnt at the stake. So she's harboring like this guilt about it,
or perceived guilt, right? Or like, yeah.
And I'm trying to think of what happens. Like, effectively next.
She goes out the door, and then she like kind of does this thing where like she becomes possessed, or like demonstrates like why people believe that she's possessed. It's hard to go scene by scene, but a lot of different things start to occur. Like, I'm trying to think, the next big thing that happens is almost like, again, you kind of investigate this convent, this area, but then it becomes almost like a church service where these monks and the father are there to like exorcise the demons out of these women, or specifically her. And it is almost like we kind of were talking about it, and it just feels like, there's something more to than what you're seeing. Like we kind of were talking like, we don't think maybe these women are or Mother Joan is possessed. Like, they're almost just like doing it for the sport or the fun.
Yeah, because the next big thing is they have that ceremony, and I mean, at that point, the other nuns are sort of reacting in the same way that Mother Joan was. Well, I guess she was more like reserved, but anyway, they're all sort of like whimsical, recoiling. Whenever they're hit with this like holy water, they're recoiling. They're acting silly. They're kind of hiding. Like they're even being kind of silly. Like one's hiding in this like little area that's high up in like a balcony, and she's kind of peeking her head out. And,
it's very silly.
Yeah, and they're all kind of like throwing their bodies and like gyrating and moving around and like they're almost doing here. So we've talked about this before, but it's hard to know. It's hard to watch this movie and think, are they doing a parody of people who are possessed, or is the idea of a parody of people being possessed, is that something only people like you and I are clued into because we live in the year 2026 and this is 1960s, and at that point, like, this is what you would portray as like a normal sort of possession. Like that's something I have a hard time understanding when I watch an older movie like this. Is trying to understand is what they're doing a parody, or is it only a parody to us because we've seen this a million times? Like this kind of reaction.
I think it's almost like it. Well, I guess maybe that goes into the whole movie theme itself, but like, and I have some very strong notions of how I think the movie is. I will say, like, when it's a black and white movie, so like the imagery is very much portrayed by like shadow casting and like things like that. A lot of the effect of the movie comes through like the dialogue, of course, and it's in English subtitles, so it's like really hard to like. I mean, you can hear tone and stuff, but it's really, you don't really get maybe as much as you think if you spoke the language natively. But like, what proceeds from that? I'm trying to think. There's some interaction between the father, Joseph, whatever his last name is, and then the mother, Joan, and maybe this is a good time to talk about like that. There's like kind of like a budding relationship between these two. Like he seems to like be more keen with her, of course, because she's like the demon possessed person, and he's like the wise religious father, this priest, and it kind of like starts to not even get awkward, but you could kind of tell like he's getting a little bit enamored by her.
Yeah, I don't quite know. I mean, they clearly are interested in one another, and I don't know necessarily if it's a romantic involvement or if it's just
He feels connected.
I mean, so this priest, the main character, I can't remember his name. I mean, some of these names are hard because they're Polish and
Sumian.
yeah,
Yeah.
he is such a devout priest. Every waking moment of his life is ran by his religious belief. He is not just purposefully reducing how much he eats because he's afraid of gluttony. He's whipping himself.
Yeah.
Like he is.
Yeah, I forgot.
He is like he is so dedicated to his faith, and he is so laser focused on that seeing these women, especially in the scene where all of them are sort of like, you know, emoting whimsically and dancing and moving freely. Part of me, and I mean, this is where we're getting into kind of our interpretation of the movie a little bit. And mine, you know, I think we should say that ours might be off. We're watching this movie for the first time. It's fresh. I would need to sit with it a lot longer to have like a full understanding. But it seems like he is almost like seeing this entirely different world. I mean, he even says in this movie, he has no idea, no concept of the world. And he's seeing these women sort of act freely. They go into their, you know, whenever the bell rings, they go into the outdoor area, and they're all just sort of like dancing around. And even as they're lining up for this religious service, one of them is just twirling, like they're lining up, and one's just kind of twirling to go in there. And of course, to these men, to these, you know, male priests, they're like, oh well, these people are possessed.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm assuming that's sort of like your interpretation of some of this.
Yes. Like it seems quite. I think the theme of it, and there are. I kind of want to rephrase something that one of the people said, but you know, maybe just plot pieces, so to speak. Like, I'm trying to think what happens. What's like the next big thing that happens? Like I said, it kind of all bleeds together. There's some relationship between one of the nuns and like the innkeep at the bar, that they have this relationship, and she kind of falls in love with some other character. Eventually they would like sleep together. He abandons her and she gets upset. And I think there's some type of like theme between that, like sin. I think the biggest thing next is like, the main character, Father Joseph Sulian, whatever, he supposedly goes to like a synagogue and talks to a rabbi, but about advice about how to deal with who's this demon, like what is a demon, like it's like very theological, like where do they come from, and then the rabbi what did you look up? You looked up that you're like, this guy looks just like him. Yeah, like when they show him. Like, it's like this. It looks like the same person, and I just kind of let it go until he eventually ends this conversation by saying, "You are me." Yeah, I am you. Like, you know, he says it again and again, and it was at that point it was like, okay, they got to be the same actor. Yeah, so it actually is, which is funny because like one obviously has like a big, very rabbi type beard, you know, and he's got a yarmulke he's wearing. And it's a very deep thought. Like you kind of feel like that's kind of where the movie kind of turned for me, and I think that's kind of what I don't know if that's like if that was a physical thing, or if that was like what he saw in his heart, because like the rabbi was like, well, he was telling him a story about this girl who was in love. She was non-Jewish but loved this guy so much, and then he died, but her soul was attached to him, and she let him into her soul because after he died, and then it like eventually killed her is what he was talking about. And so like he said, basically, to know the devil, you must invite him in. Okay. Like it almost is like that's like maybe the excuse that he uses to kind of proceed things in the movie, because at that point he does kind of go into the common space with Mother Joan and begins to like really express what he wants to do to save her. Like, so he wants to, right? Because he's like this religious man. He will do whatever it takes to save this woman. But this is kind of maybe where I'm going to start talking about my interpretation, is like, I think that was almost like his excuse to succumb to like his desires. And I don't think there's, when we're watching this part with kind of like this other guy in it, I don't really know who he is, but like he's some other, I think he might be like the town's wise man. I don't know what you want to say. But he talks about a part where he's like, well, maybe she's, you know, scourged by many demons, or maybe she's not scourged by any demons at all. And that's why I'm like, I think that's what this movie wants you to think, is like, is the devil really real, or is it people just making you, or did this guy have some selfish desire to like want to court with Mother Joan? That's kind of what I make it, kind of like mocks religion.
Yeah, I mean, like the way that I kind of look at a lot of this movie is about, I mean, I see this movie a lot about men with savior complexes. Like this guy, I mean, you could even, you know, for a guy who's very plugged into and is not afraid to tell people who going into the bar and having fun that they're sinning, doesn't see until far too late that he has his own prideful motivations to save this. He wants to be the savior. He wants to save this girl.
That's true.
He's got to save her. And like, there's a part of me that thinks that it is romantically motivated, but then there's this other part of me that just thinks that it's like I mean, even the Jewish counterpart that he talks to, he gets upset. Like the Jewish counterpart he's talking to, he says, you know, this guy is saying, I want to know everything you can tell me about demons. And he is like, he's trying to explain to him, my religion, my family lineage is so much older than anything that you know about. And you want me to, in like a couple words, tell you everything you need to know about demons? And he has this sort of like moment, he kind of, you know, chastises this priest because the priest, anytime that he gets some advice from this rabbi, the priest is like, no.
Yeah.
No. Like, it doesn't, no, that's not right. No. And so the rabbi is like, you come to me, you want my advice, and I'm telling you that, like, we have far more history and knowledge in this kind of stuff than you have at all. And so I feel like a lot of this movie, especially in that scene where you see the 4 bishops or the 4 like
monks,
cardinals or whoever,
yeah.
Whoever sort of leading this, like trying to purge the demons out of these women who don't really seem to be exhibiting much demonic, sort of behavior. It just seems so much about like men being in charge, being saviors for the women, leading the women, telling the women what to do. It just seems, and also like you had made this point earlier about the traveler who became sort of like besmirched by this nun and convinces her to leave the covenant and to come and to sleep with him, and then he leaves.
Yeah,
and it's like it's like a male-led world where it's like men being the heroes, doing what they want at the expense of the females that are in their life.
Well, yeah, and I agree. I think that, like, especially in that instance, like, he's like, we're just going to leave, and then she finds out. But then she's ridden by guilt because of, like, again, really as an ideology that, like, she did the wrongdoing. She was the wrong person.
Right, yeah.
And
he gets off scot-free.
Right. And then he says, and then, well, and unfortunately, like, and this is kind of like she's finding someone to blame, so she like goes to Innskeep, the woman, and she's like, "This is your fault," or it's the other guy's fault. They're so it is very much like, I think it is a parody of like how whatever time period this is, like the late 1800s, the early 1800s. I don't really know, but yeah, I think there's a lot of like female or male dominance on female, like, and it's like done so subtly in some ways, but in other ways, like, Aaron and I were joking, like, when the girls were or the nuns were dancing in the synagogue or whatever, they're just like, it's just like the girls just want to have fun. Like, it's just like whimsical. They're spinning.
I mean, they seem like they're just in a lot of scenes. It seems like they're messing with like the male leadership. They're just like
in society, like, we're just gonna have fun.
Yeah, like
you're not gonna kill us.
yeah, they're told to, you need to be praying day in, day out, everything like that, and it just seems like it seems like any sort of drift from the norm, from that norm, is sort of stated that, oh, well, this must be because you're possessed by demons. There must be devils in you. That's why you're acting like this. That's why you're behaving this way. It's because there's devils in you. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I mean, this is interesting because, like, I don't know that you would necessarily disagree with this, is that it doesn't feel all that much like a horror movie. It feels more like kind of a drama, like kind of more of like a tragedy.
Yeah, I would say that. I think the real horror is, it's almost like very non-typical like religious horror, because a lot of the religious horror you think of now, and when they talk about exorcisms, like it probably feels more like in reality, like at least in this time period, maybe exorcisms kind of did this, because like when you think of The Exorcist, you think of like head spinning and vomiting and blood and swearing and just like theatrical, but this is like a very subtle way, because going through this again, like you talk about like when Mother Joan shows signs of like that she's being possessed, like she's still like before that, she's still like a normal person. And then she goes through these spells of like becoming possessed. And I think it's kind of like, whether that's done in mockery or like, again, this kind of like idea that quote unquote, like women just want to be silly.
Yeah.
But it almost is like kind of like comical, like, and maybe somewhat horrifying. I would say the most horrifying part, maybe this is a good example of what we just seen, is like it's the subtle imagery that you see. It's never like a jump scare. It's never like anything like bloody or gory, which I really appreciate when a movie can like spook you without doing that kind of stuff. Like one of the most harrowing scenes, and it's not really like, it's like more maybe dramatic or like creepy, was when all the women in the synagogue were like face down with their arms out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh my God. Like, and then they kind of like, it's like a pan shot. Like you see everybody, all the women doing it. And you see like some of the congregation. It's like, there's nothing scary about it, but like just that imagery of seeing like their hands or their arms wide open with their cloaks on and all these white, it's very creepy. You know?
Yeah, I would say that like if you're, like it said, like if you're expecting that this movie, if you read the summary and you saw that it was about demon possession in the church, like if you're expecting that you're going to have a scene where somebody's face is like gnarled, you're going to be disappointed. It's not that kind of movie. It's very much more of like a, I don't know, like
subdued.
Yeah, it's very reserved. It's, and there are things that are like creepy. They do a good job of using, because this movie's in black and white, really leveraging like
the
very, very bright whites and very, very deep darks. Like those, I think they do a really good job of that, making these really stark and vivid imagery. In fact, like I think some of the best shots are when they're showing the convent, and then you see this big black pyre that the priest was burnt on. It's just like, I mean, like it is so, the contrast is like so great. It is such a great, I don't know where they shot this. It does look like they kind of shot this in like a desert area to really get that white look against this really dark like pillar, this ominous sort of like obelisk. I feel like this is the kind of movie that you can watch and pull a lot of different meanings from it, and I think that it'll resonate with somebody who's watching this. I think everybody can relate to a lot of like this kind of even religious theme from whatever time period this is, whether it's 1800s, 1700s, whatever. Yeah. But what's kind of funny is maybe you'll know this off the top of your head, but can you think of another movie where the protagonist, the way that they save the woman is that he invites the demon into himself? Can you think of another movie where they do that?
If you said it, I would know, but I've tried to think off the top of my head. It might take me a few minutes, but
it's The Exorcist.
Oh, I've actually never seen the original one. Yeah,
and and the thing about that movie is that it's done completely unironically.
Right.
Like it is the thing that I think this movie is trying to parody is this idea that like men are the saviors, men do it, men can do this whole thing. They will be the ones to save the women. It like this movie is trying to be more thoughtful and say that like this is like some like subtext about how that's silly. But like in The Exorcist, it's like, nope, that's how it literally happens.
Yeah.
He says, come out of this girl and come into me. And he saves the girl. The priest saves the girl. It's a good movie, but it's funny to me that like the endings are so similar, or the way that the protagonist resolves this situation is so similar, and yet this movie that I'd never even heard of, seems like it did it so much more subtly, in a more interesting way.
Yeah, I think whereas like, and that's kind of like what I think of like modern day movies, kind of like that almost use like shock value as like the horror element. Like, I mean, maybe back in the day, like you know, early 2000s, whatever. Like Human Centipede was just like, or Saw, like when those kind of movies came out, or Hostel. I've never seen that, but I know it's like extremely gory. It's like that's like the horror aspect, is it uses like shock value to spook you. And I think The Exorcist maybe was that 80s.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
like
70. Yeah, 79. I
79.
think.
Yeah. So it's like maybe those are the movies of, you know, today, just like how The Exorcist was to like movies like this. Like it adds way more like spook factor because it's one crazy ass demon and it's like doing crazy things to someone's body. And also there's some body horror in here, or in The Exorcist. Here it's, again, like Aaron said, it's way more subtle, way more theatrical, like way more like not Broadway, but like you know, like live theatrical performance. Like I thought the actors and actresses in the movie did a great. I mean, it's very good. I really did enjoy it. I will say, like at the end, in terms of the plot, like, you know, they put this barrier between her and like the rest of the world, I guess. So she's like, you know, like some of the villagers are building this like, you know, like fence, and you don't really know what it's for, but then you see it between Mother Joan and the father, and then that's when he kind of like becomes infatuated with her, and he's like, you know, kind of what the rabbi was talking about. He said, you know, the best way to understand a demon is to invite it inside, and you know, that's what happens. Is like he says like, I will change this for you, and then he gets really close to her, and he's like kissing her hand, and this is even after she says something so abhorrent from a religious perspective as like, I love Satan. I love, you know, I have great pleasure with, you know, and I think he's so like enamored with that, with like being the man savior.
Yeah.
that he like, you know, he takes that on upon himself. And then again, kind of like things transpire. Eventually at the end, he talks about grabbing an axe and he kills two of the villagers, and some of the innkeeper people come in there and they're like, oh my God, or, you know, they see the axe in his hand. Of course they don't show the bodies, but it's like way more subtle, and he's like, well, they went to heaven now. And it's like almost, I think on the tip of it, you're like, well, yeah, I guess he was possessed by Satan. Mm-hmm. I guess my thought is like he was just kind of giving in to his idea that Satan was in him. So he's like, I'm going to show that he is inside, so I'm going to kill these people. And I think it's almost like that's the kind of the plot twist. Like, I think the idea that the wise man of, you know, the town was like, there may be no devil at all. And I think that's kind of the point. I think that it's almost like a religious parody, and it's almost trying to make it seem like, you know, they use this as a tactic to control women and control society, and they're trying to like invoke like a fear into people when they talk about like Satan's going to enter your body. And really, I think it's like man succumbing to their evil desires. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one thing this movie does a lot is demonstrate the idea that isn't it peculiar that the people who are being constantly possessed are all part of the church and not part of the church? You know, like, are these individuals more keyed into the idea of possession and exorcism, and that sort of exposure to it day in and day out is the thing that makes them believe that that's how they feel, and they sort of have these like shared psychoses? Because I mean, the movie doesn't shy away. It tries to make you understand that, like, the people at the inn, they do what they want. They talk about, they drink, they get drunk, they have fun, they party, they, you know, they gossip about all the stuff that's going on in the town. It's not like they're pious and their piousness is making them, they're sort of like, innocence is making them so that they're not exposed to the devil. Like, if it's just interesting that this whole town full of people that couldn't care less about this religious order that's living right next to them, not any of them are possessed.
Yeah.
It's only the people that are part of the church that are susceptible and falling into this.
Yeah.
I don't
There's
know.
some dialogue about that. Like, I wish I could remember, like, it's hard, again, to think about it because you're reading the words and not listening to the language. But, yeah, I think there was some verbiage about that, about, like, why that's the case. Yeah. But it's so subtle, you know. But I do think I think it's a, you know, I do think it kind of delves into a society that, it's interesting because, you know, this is it's supposed to be a very old movie. I mean, what other movies came out in the 60s that were like way more technologically advanced? Again, this is a Polish movie, so, you know, what access did they had? But I think they did a good job of making it seem like almost kind of like, I hate to call it a documentary, but it's very realistic for some random old timepiece that was probably just consumed by religion and how religion controls people.
Yeah, and I would be interested. I mean, like, 1961 is what just showed up on Letterboxd. I'd be curious to know if, like, was this made quite a bit earlier and then released in 1961, or was it actually made in the 60s? I don't know, but I mean, if it was made in the 60s, there's plenty of movies that are far more modern that are out. I mean, it was clearly a stylistic choice for it to be filmed and directed in the way that it was. I mean, I will say that, like, everything about the cinematography of this movie suits this movie so well. It's like, I mean, again, it is beautifully shot. Like, all of the scene, all the outdoor, every, there's not one scene where I'm like, oh, you know, it was a mistake to have tried to go this direction with that scene, given the lighting conditions or whatever. Like, there's not one time where I'm like, oh, they really should, you know, they should have had the foresight that this would be black and white and it'd be hard to see this. Like, all the scenes where it's difficult to see are so intentional. Yeah. And there's always something that is drawing your eye to that particular scene. Like, at the very end, whenever they're showing the priest who is ostensibly succumbing to possession, and he's, like, having this, like, conversation with himself. Yeah. It is... Yeah, so unnerving. Yeah, and
all you're seeing is, like, you see, like, the highlights of his face, and everything else is black, and it is it's like the camera shakes, and it's, like, very jarring. Yeah,
and I mean, like, I don't know how much compression is being added by archive.org or whatever, but I feel like there's got to be some. We're basically we're streaming this from. We're not watching this on Blu-ray. I'll put it that way, right? Yeah. So, like, the fact that this looks as good as it does under the conditions it's in is, like, pretty technically impressive to me. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, we even remarked about, like, the credits. Like, at the very beginning, there are these credits that are rolling in, and of course, some of them are more basic, where you've got just a list of names, but some of them are, like, ornately drawn, and they fit.
It looks hand-drawn.
Yeah, and it's just it's gorgeous looking.
It's a great stylistic choice. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's really no flaws in, like, the video or even the audio. Like, I think, and I there are so many things that I think we're missing in this movie that it almost is going to drive me nuts when I'm, like, doing a little bit of research about it and be like, oh my, how did we miss that? Like, sometimes I go back and I think that I'm like, clearly that was they were trying to convey this and we missed it or whatever. I think I agree with Aaron. Like, there's no really wrong stylistic choice, and it's all done so well. It reminds me of the other black and white movie we saw, and I can't think of the name, but man,
about the children that were in like the house or whatever.
They went to like a boarding school, whatever. Yeah. That was just the same way. It's just like, and I think it takes way more creativity and more focused on like the shot, because you're not seeing the color of it. You're seeing like the shape and the lighting of it. So we're not going to make people miss their mark. So I wish I remembered more like small details about it. Like there's something to be said about these two villagers who work in the stable, and I believe they're the ones that at the very end were killed. But they talk about like how to pray to God and like who's the devil. Someone says that the devil is actually Mother Superior herself. And one of the guys says he talks about his father being killed. Is that foreshadowing because the quote unquote father killed him?
Yeah, he's talking about he wants to kill his father.
Right. But and he means like his paternal father, not like the religious father.
Because his father's an alcoholic, and he wants to murder his father because I would assume that he's abusive.
Right.
But I think it is important to call out that like when we watch a movie like this, there is inevitably stuff that we're going to miss, stuff that is probably obvious to other people that is just like probably going over our heads because of either a language barrier, a decade barrier, a cinema barrier. Like, I mean, all things considered, like I don't know about you, but like I consider myself just like still a novice movie watcher. Like I kind of walk in and what I see is what I see, but I don't know. Like I guess you'll just have to excuse us if we're not totally seeing some of this stuff, because when we record this, it's seconds after we finish the movie. It is not like, we researched a bunch of stuff and then we watched it.
I bet it'd be different if we were writing it down, but I feel like it would just take away. I mean, we're not movie critics. We're just
watching a movie and then talking about what we think about it. But I don't know. I mean, I don't have too much more to add, but I would just say that like this movie, I kind of did what I do with a lot of movies, which is like I just saw it got good reviews. The cover of the movie on Letterboxd looked interesting, and that's honestly 90% of the reason why I chose it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know what to expect from this movie. I didn't know how much quote unquote horror it would be, but I really liked it. I mean, it's not maybe your classical horror movie, but I thought it was incredibly well made, well done. I don't know what other things this person has made, but I thought this was excellent.
Yeah, I think, and especially in kind of going back to the beginning where we talked about like, I mean, I found this movie via archive.org, and then I got to praise VLC for, the devs or the dev that did this, because all we did was put that legit link into VLC and it came up instantly.
Yeah, I mean, didn't wait, didn't buffer, didn't, and like as silly as this sounds, it is like, if you worked with technology at all, like the fact that you're like, can I rewind this? Can I pause this without it breaking? And it worked just fine is kind of a massive achievement, because most of the time you do stuff like that and you're like, oh my God, of course it didn't work, because why would you be able to pause?
So I would I'd say watch this movie, and also don't forget that I feel like it's always good to watch movies like this, because like, this stuff is almost like better than most stuff you see now.
Yeah, I think watching this stuff is just like, it's just important to do, I think. And I think, I mean, we talk about archive.org, but like, it's important to preserve. Like, I think it's so valuable that this stuff exists without you having to go to Amazon.com and buy a Blu-ray. It's like, I don't know anything about this movie. Like, I think it's important that people be able to watch it at all. And I hope that the people who made this movie feel the same way. I think that there's just a lot here that I think is worth just checking out and digesting. And I do think that, like, I wish we could do it. Maybe there's some way we could do it, but it would be cool if we could make the art for this episode the scene where they're all laying down.
Yeah.
Because that is just like,
you could probably screen
that goes hard.
Yeah,
that goes hard. That's like album cover
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
Puts
cool.
I mean, the scene itself puts, because it's like it's of course contextual, but yeah, puts shivers in you.
These priests with their haircuts is great too. They're just like these bowl cuts. It's just
It is so funny, and like the spinning woman.
Yeah, it is funny because you do see like these people just like spinning and hanging around, and then it's just like
some of the congregation are just like, oh my god, she's spinning. They're clearly possessed.
It's like if you were it's like if you went to church when you were a kid and you were drawing on the back of an envelope that was meant for the offering because you just are bored and it's at church, and they're like, those kids are possessed.
Yeah, or like,
do you see that?
It's so funny how like the times have like continue to carry on. Like we look at people who do small things like that, and you're just like, what the hell's wrong with them? Like,
yeah, it's
clearly,
like blasphemous. It's an abomination that they would consider doing that.
But honestly, I think they're just messing with them. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think you're just being silly. Like,
I mean, it seems
that's what I think.
Yeah, it seems like men who are so out of touch with the regular world that they see any deviation from it, from their particular religious beliefs,
right,
as
any heresy.
What has to be possession?
Yeah.
What else could it be?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that we'll after this look this up and find there are other things we totally missed. But yeah, I do think that this was very good.
Yeah.
So
check it out.
Check it out.